Beautiful soul, pause for a moment. Feel the presence of God, universe, source, your angels, and spirit team wrapping you with love. God knows exactly who you are and has many purposes for you. How do you know which way to go in life? You listen to the positive, loving whispers coming from your heart. That's your intuition. And your intuition is the way your spirit team talks to you and guides you. It's a compass that has every answer you'll ever need. When you follow your heart, you're always on your path. So be confident. Love all of who you are because you're perfect. Follow your joy and let God show you how you can make this world better. To help you do that, here's today's episode. If you'd like to support this podcast, please tag @Angel Podcast and share this episode on your socials. Leave a 5-star positive review, and if it calls to you, work with me at theangelmedium.com. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the Intuitive Kids podcast. I'm your host and author, Julie Jancis, and today we have a very special guest on. Friends, if you've been involved in sports or you just need some motivation in your life, you need to be following Jake Banwart over on TikTok. He is motivating kids around the world with his story and just with his outlook on life. Jake, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So Jake, you were a teacher.
Yes.
And you wanted to run your own business in sports. You help kids in all different various sports, but a lot in baseball, correct?
Correct. So I run a baseball and softball program called Baseball and Fast Pitch Academics Midwest. So we focus a lot. We're a little bit different. We focus a lot on the academic side, both of the game and then just mindset and peak performance for kids as well. And then we operate out of a facility that I run. And then I do mindset peak performance training for individuals and teams across all sports and across the country.
Amazing. Amazing. So I watched one of your TikToks and you said, here I am encouraging kids to follow their dreams. And you were a teacher at the time and you loved teaching, but what you really wanted to do was run your own business and help kids with sports. And so what gave you the courage to step away from teaching and really pursue starting your own business?
Yeah. So to some extent, there was a time crunch, right? So we came back from COVID and over COVID, my social media kind of started to expand a little bit. That was the only way that I knew how to still have an impact and be involved with kids of that age group that I really had a passion for. So coming back, I was teaching, preparing for college and careers. And I found myself telling everybody when they would say, well, I really want to do this or do that. And I would really push them to pursue their plan A and their passion. And I would go home to my wife, and I have 2 kids. I have an 8-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son. They're awesome. And I wasn't sleeping very much. I was teaching all day, already running the businesses, doing way too many things. Luckily, my family was extremely supportive, but I realized that I was pushing everybody to pursue their plan A while I was falling back on my plan B of teaching because of the stability that it provided. So it just kind of slapped me in the face one day of like, man, if I'm going to say this and I truly believe this, then I need to take that action step and just do it. So I'm going on to year 2 of this is my second full year of not teaching. I still coach the varsity baseball team at the school that I was a teacher at. So I'm still involved over there. And then they run a weekly mindset training program with athletes that I get to still be involved with. So still have my hand in the school in some capacity, but am really kind of settling into what it looks like to just run my own stuff and figure it out along the way.
Yeah. Now you're around athletes all day, every day, and kids might hear the word athlete and think, well, I'm just a kid, I can't be an athlete. No, you are. If you are
Yeah.
involved in sports, you are that athlete. And I've had a lot of athlete friends around me who are very into their own health and fitness as
Yep.
adults. And one of the things that I've noticed that athletics really gives people is what you call, I think it's like incremental
Yeah.
consistency.
Incremental growth. Yep.
Yes, talk about this because this is just so fascinating that a little bit every single day gets you exactly where you need to be.
Yeah, I just think there's so many people that turn down the ability to grow on a day-to-day basis, and we justify it to ourselves that because it's not as much as what somebody else is able to do, or we set out an hour in our day and we only have 30 minutes, we choose not to do it at all, and that leaves her with no growth. So the reality is, even if you're not able to get in everything, just doing something still moves you closer to that goal. It might not be the exact amount that you're trying to get to in that day, but it's something. And by stacking those habits on a day-to-day basis, a lot of people think it adds up, but the reality is it becomes a product. It multiplies, right? Because as you get closer, then things get easier. And essentially what you're doing is you're creating habits. So one of my favorite books of all time is called Atomic Habits. It's incredible. It's all about habit formation and what that looks like. And it talks about setting habits that take you no more than 2 minutes in a day. And I have a client right now that I work with, and his goal is just to get stronger. So we set the habit for him that every morning when he woke up, he was going to do one push-up. Because the reality is the problem is getting into the position, right? The problem is putting yourself in that spot to do it. But once you're there and you're down in push-up position and you've done one, every single person is like, well, this is stupid. I'm already here. I might as well do more. So he's averaging about 30 a day. But if the goal was to do 30, he probably would have missed more days because it just seems such a big task and so insurmountable that we don't put ourselves in a position to actually accomplish it.
That's incredible. So if there's kids out there who are baseball players or
Yeah.
soccer players or softball or tennis or painters, artists, if they just say, I'm going to do this for 1 minute a day,
Yep.
5 minutes a day, that is like you investing that time and energy in yourself and almost like paying yourself. You could think about it like paying
Yep.
yourself money. So if you were going to pay yourself $5 a day for just like 5 minutes every day that you're putting in, that would add up to a lot of money by the end of
Yeah.
the year. And
Yeah.
and it's the same with your time and your energy.
Yep, absolutely. And if you do that with your money and you invest it into things that are positive, it's going to essentially grow over time more than just putting that $5 in a day. So the same thing happens with our habits because the more that we do it, the more we prove to ourselves that we're capable of doing it. So then we can build on that. And that confidence that we gain from it allows us to create more habits and bigger habits and understand that our dreams can be reality. But so often we look and it's just such a big thing that we don't take the first step. So truly just taking step one, it's you think about vision, right? And when you're far away from something, you don't see it really well. So naturally, as people, if we want to see it, we move closer. And the same thing has to happen with our goals. We have to take those steps. And as we get closer to accomplishing it, then the vision becomes clear of exactly what to do. But we never experience that if we don't take that first step and move closer to actually see the outlook of what we're trying to accomplish.
Amazing. Amazing. So take the first step. That is our
Yes.
first goal. Take that first step. And, something that happens to every single human being on earth, no matter who they are, is that when you start out working towards your goals, sometimes self doubt is going to creep in or that negative voice within your head. Jake, how do you coach your players, your athletes, to really kick that voice out of their head and really keep focused on that goal until they reach it?
Yeah, so there's a couple big things that I do with all of my clients. Number one is they need to stop voicing those things out loud. So a spoken thought is going to stick with you more than just a thought that happens in your mind. And a lot of times we have negative thoughts in our mind that we don't control. We don't actively think about them. They're subconscious thoughts that come through. So step one is stop saying those things, because a negative thought already is 7 times stronger than a positive thought. So when you say that out loud, now we have to work to even get back to ground zero at that point. But step two is identifying what the common ones are that we have, because a lot of people don't take the time to recognize when they're having negative thoughts, and then they just get stuck there. So essentially, we got to look at it like Isaac Newton, right? An object in motion will stay in motion until acted upon by another object. So our thought is energy, which is an object in motion. And when we get stuck in that, it becomes easy to just sit in there and dwell in it. And sometimes it feels really good to feel bad, because there's a lot of people in the world that will tell you that it's okay, and they feel the same way. And so there's company in that misery. When the reality is, if we just let that thought go in one ear and out the other, we can move on from it rather quickly. So step one is identifying what that negative thought is. And then once we know, we call them saboteurs, what those personal saboteurs are that we don't actually like want to think about, but they come into our brain. The next step is to create positive affirmations that you can bounce off of those every single time. So my wife and I laugh almost every day about it, but like things will come up and we'll just say, not today, Satan. Like that's not where I'm going to get stuck. I'm not going to do that. So if we have a positive thought that counteracts the negative, then it's really easy to bounce that thought, and it's work. You have to do it every single time. But the more that you do it, the more it becomes just subconscious action where you don't get stuck in the negative. So anybody who tells you like, just forget about those, don't worry about them, you just can't think about them, it's not real. It's not going to happen. Those thoughts will still come into your mind. And sometimes when you really don't want them to, they're going to pop up. So essentially, like equipping yourself with the tools to bounce off of those is the most important part, because over time, then you stop thinking about them quite as much.
That's incredible. You also have this amazing outlook on gratitude, and a very different take that I've heard anywhere else before on gratitude. A lot of people talk about, gratitude as being thankful for the things that you do have in your life. For the things that you do have in your life. Even though we're working towards a goal, that gratitude for what we have right now, people say every night before you go to bed, write down 10 things that you're grateful for. Tell everybody your philosophy on this, because I think it's just amazing.
So I'm more of a morning routine person than a night routine. And I think realistically, it sets up your day to go as smoothly as possible. Because if you start your day, think about what most kids do. You wake up, you're running late for school, you grab a bite to eat, something to drink, you get in the car, and you're off. So really, you become a product of the results of what happens in the first few things in your day. If something negative happens, you start thinking negatively. And what we do is we start to stack these negative thoughts, and we start to attach things that have nothing to do with each other. So I used to deal with it all the time as a teacher in first period. Somebody would come in, they'd be rude, they'd put their head down as soon as they came in. Well, I got up late, I forgot my homework, and now it's like, none of those things have anything to do with class. You're here, and now you have an opportunity to be present in the moment, be where your feet are, and be successful. But what happens is it's like putting a dish in the sink, right? If you take one cup, you drink out of it, you put it in the sink, it takes 30 seconds to wash. But we have to do the same thing with our negative things in our head. It's like, wow, that stunk. That was 5 seconds of my day. Now I still control the rest of it, and I owe it to myself to move on and be present in what it is I'm doing. But when you look at a kid and you say, hey, I need you to wash the dishes, and the sink is overflowing with all of these dishes, it looks like this insurmountable task that we're going to put off and make excuses about because we just don't want to do it. And it seems huge. So a lot of times, if we do gratitude at night, that's better than not doing it at all, for sure. But you do that and then you go to sleep. So by doing it in the morning, writing down, and I just do 3 things. It can be 10, that's great. But 3 is really simple. And a lot of times it's more intentional, because you don't have to just write down the same ones that you've written every day. Maybe you got something big that day that you're thankful for, you can write it down. But what it does is it allows you, when something negative happens, to fall back to that gratitude rather than becoming a product of the results of the beginning of your day. Hey, this happened. But man, like right now in Indy, it is pouring rain, but it's 55 degrees in February. Like I'm so thankful for that. It is such a nice day out. So rather than falling back to the negative, we end up leaning back into the gratitude that we've set for our day, which just sets us up to approach each aspect of our day separately and with that gratitude, and to then give that off to other people.
Yeah. I want to give a chance for the younger kids listening to digest this and absorb this because it's such like a deep, profound, but simple philosophy that if you just start your morning with three things, you wake up and say, God, universe, source, I am so grateful for these three things. We all, every single human being on earth is going to go through our day and negative thoughts are just going to pop in. They're just going to come. Nobody's bad. Nobody's wrong because that happens. That's just who we are as human beings. It just happens. And scientists have actually studied that and say they don't know where the thoughts are coming from. They just flow
Yep.
in.
Mm-hmm.
So if you start your day with three things you're grateful for, what Jake's trying to say here is that when you have those negative thoughts come up at lunch or at dinner or at recess, your mind is going to not hold on to that negativity as much. It's going to go back to your grateful heart and that you're really so grateful to be alive and grateful to be here and grateful to have the friends that you have and the nice teachers that you do and live in the house that you do, the home. That gratitude brings you out of negativity, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Jake, you work with kids in Indianapolis. Do you work with kids in the rest of the United States? Because you're kind of worldwide now over on TikTok.
Sure. So I do mindset training for kids all over the country. And there's two different structures to that. So with the high school and college athletes, they can do one-on-one, which is weekly calls. And they send me their morning writing, and their daily routine stuff that they're supposed to be doing. And that's really personalized depending on the person. So we have this basic outline structure that we start everybody with. But the reality is what works for me is not going to 100% work for somebody else. So they get a lot of freedom in discovering and creating their own routine through that. And we'll work with them through season. So we'll have post-game talks and post-game writing and reflection. So that's more of the one-on-one. And then for a lot of athletes that are just getting started, we have 3 online mental training programs that are all through Google Classroom. And it's literally every single day for 8 straight weeks, where there is a morning video that's 3 to 5 minutes, and then morning writing that takes about 5 minutes. The worst part, and this keeps everybody from signing up, is it's a cold shower every single morning for 8 weeks. It just gets the heart rate going, gets your breathing right. It's so great. And that's a really good starting point for kids who are interested in mental training or growing their mindset, but don't really know where to get started, because there's still the personal touch that they can send me everything, I'll respond, but they don't have to check in on an everyday basis. So essentially that's giving them the tools for their toolbox and letting them do the work. And then if they love that, we transition them more into the one-on-one side.
That's amazing. Now, where can people find you if they want more information?
So TikTok or Instagram are probably the best places. The handle is Coach Banwart 20 on both of those. All of those are public. They can DM me right there. And then if they go to it's inbamfam.com, which is our program website. My email and everything is directly on there. So anybody interested in, specific baseball or softball training, as well as the mindset stuff, that would be the place to go.
Awesome. And it's Jake, and spell your last name so everybody has that.
Yep. Banwart.
Perfect. Awesome. We'll have all of that information in the show notes. Jake, thank you so much for being here today. We're going to have you on the episode again real soon.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
You too. Want more episodes? Check out our parent podcast, Angels and Awakening. Beautiful souls, if you're super excited to develop your own intuition, go to theangelmedium.com and become an angel member today. Angel membership is for the whole family. Parents get access to hundreds of hours of past course content, new intuitive development circles, events, small groups, and more. And now kids get access to spiritual workshops, pre-recorded energy healings, and live events just for them. Start today at theangelmedium.com. And if you're the family who's really excited, you're ready to go all in developing all of your unique spiritual gifts, kids ages 14 and up can now enroll in my Angel Reiki School with a parent. That's for the healers among us who feel called to grow their intuition to the max and serve humanity with their gifts. You'll learn Reiki energy healing, mediumship, how to deliver angel messages, and how to start your own family business. That's the Angel Reiki School at theangelmedium.com. Details are in the show notes. Now, do you want to do an exercise with me? Imagine God is pouring unconditional love through the top of your head. This unconditional love fills your body with yummy, shimmering energy from head to toe. So much so that God's love begins to radiate out from your entire body, from your heart, like rays of energy radiating out from the sun. Imagine God's infinite, unconditional love flows from your heart to everyone you love, to everyone in your school, to everyone listening to this podcast, and back to you. Your angels remind you they're always looking out for you, guiding you, directing you, protecting you. Talk to God and your angels all day long and listen to your heart for the positive, loving messages they have just for you.